The Epstein files in their entirety.
We are producing more than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, 180,000 images.
The fullest picture we have of the disgraced paedophile and sex trafficker.
I have pictures up on the wall.
The dozens of victims and the scale of his high-profile network.
They've been trying to stop Andrew from being a distraction, and now this has happened.
3 images appearing to show him on all fours over a woman.
Tonight, we begin with a story that Washington insiders had hoped was buried, that political operatives had dismissed as old news, and that powerful figures across both parties had prayed would never resurface a controversy that exploded, not over weeks, not over months, but in a single press briefing, a single statement that sent journalists scrambling.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I didn't. I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned 2 names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A single moment that reopened wounds the establishment thought had healed, and a single question that nobody in the White House expected. What Karoline Leavitt said from that podium today has ignited a firestorm that threatens to consume the very administration she was appointed to protect. The Epstein files are back in the spotlight. The names are being whispered again. The connections are being re-examined. And for the first time since taking office, President Trump is facing direct questions about a controversy that has followed him for nearly a decade. Tonight, the question everyone is asking is simple. What did Leavitt say? Why did she say it? And what does Trump's response, or lack thereof, tell us about what's really in those files? To understand the significance of what happened today, we need to go back to the beginning. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier, a socialite, and as the world eventually learned, a prolific predator who operated a sex trafficking operation involving dozens of underage victims. He moved in circles that included princes and presidents, billionaires and celebrities, titans of industry, and pillars of politics. His address book read like a who's who of global power. His private island became synonymous with unspeakable crimes, and his death in a Manhattan jail cell officially ruled a suicide-spawned conspiracy theories that persist to this day. When Epstein died in August 2019, many assumed the secrets would die with him. They were wrong. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in 2021 on charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy.
I was hoping that as a human being, she would have felt something. She would have at least acknowledged or looked, or but there was none of that. And that doesn't matter for me. The thing for me, the memory I'll take away from today that I will never forget until the rest of for the rest.
Court documents began to emerge, thousands of pages detailing names, dates, and allegations that implicated some of the most powerful people in the world. But many of those documents remained sealed, redacted, hidden from public view. For years, journalists and activists have fought to unseal the complete Epstein files, the full, unredacted record of who knew what, who did what, and who looked the other way. And for years, powerful forces have fought to keep those files locked away, until today. The press briefing started like any other. Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, took questions on immigration policy, economic indicators, and the president's upcoming foreign travel routine topics, predictable exchanges, nothing that would make headlines. And then came the question. A reporter from an independent outlet, not one of the major networks, not one of the usual suspects, raised her hand and asked, "Given the president's previous statements about releasing the Epstein files, can you confirm whether the administration has reviewed the complete, unredacted documents and whether the president still intends to authorize their public release?" The room went silent. Leavitt paused. What happened next has been replayed thousands of times in the hours since. According to those present, Leavitt appeared to consult her notes, then delivered a response that was simultaneously revealing and evasive. The president has been briefed on materials related to this matter. He remains committed to transparency. However, I'm not in a position to confirm specific timelines or the scope of any potential release. What I can tell you is that the review process has surfaced information that is, and I'm quoting internal discussions here, more extensive than previously understood. More extensive than previously understood, those 6 words have dominated every news cycle since. What does more extensive mean? More names, more crimes, more connections to people still in power? Leavitt refused to elaborate and moved on to other questions, but the damage, or the revelation, depending on your perspective, was done, and the Epstein files controversy officially returned. The reaction to her statement was immediate and deeply divided. Critics of the administration seized on the phrase as evidence that the White House was preparing to either weaponize the files for political purposes or bury them entirely, arguing that if the files contain what many have long suspected, the American people deserve to know, and that using them as leverage, rather than releasing them, would itself be a scandal. Supporters of the president took the opposite view, insisting that Trump promised transparency and that a thorough review before release shows the issue is being taken seriously. But it was Trump's own response, or lack of one, that fueled the most speculation. As of tonight, the president has not directly addressed Leavitt's statement. No tweet, no Truth Social post, no impromptu remarks. A silence that feels deafening for a man known to comment on nearly everything. That silence raises uncomfortable questions about whether he is waiting strategically, being advised to stay quiet, or hesitating because of something in those files. The Epstein documents themselves fall into several categories: court records from the Maxwell trial, many released only in redacted form, FBI investigation files, most still sealed or classified, intelligence agency assessments tied to concerns about foreign connections, and financial records tied to Epstein's unexplained wealth. Leavitt's comment suggests, without confirming, that something significant has surfaced in one or more of these areas, something previously unknown or deliberately hidden, something that changes the scope of what we thought we knew, bringing the questions back to what, and more importantly, who. The Epstein case has always been about names in address books, on flight logs, in victim testimony, and behind redactions. And if more names are coming, the political implications are staggering. This has never been a clean left versus right issue. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's jet, Trump was photographed with him and once praised him, Prince Andrew faced civil litigation, and countless business leaders, academics, and celebrities appear in related documents. That bipartisan exposure is precisely why the files have stayed sealed for so long, shielded by legal challenges, national security claims, and victim privacy concerns that are legitimate but also convenient. What makes Leavitt's statement explosive is that it came from inside the White House. Trump long positioned himself as the outsider who would expose establishment corruption, yet the Epstein files were never fully released during his first term. And now the question is whether this was a preview of disclosure or a slip the administration is scrambling to manage. Reactions poured in as the day went on. Conservative media framed it as proof Trump is ready to expose the deep state. Liberal outlets called it a vague distraction with no commitment to release. Legal experts warned the phrasing could mean anything or nothing, and victim advocacy groups urged action over political teasing. Online, speculation exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide, amateur investigators resurfaced timelines, and more extensive than previously understood became both a serious talking point and a meme. Trump's own history with Epstein adds volatility, shared social circles, photographs, and a 2002 quote, praising Epstein that has haunted him ever since, followed by later efforts to distance himself after Epstein's arrest. Those lingering questions, what Trump knew, when he knew it, and why ties were cut when they were, are now back in play. Not because he is unique, but because he became president. At this moment, everyone is under pressure. The White House to balance transparency and political risk, the Justice Department to protect investigations, Republicans and Democrats alike to demand disclosure while fearing who might be named, the media to cover responsibly while chasing engagement, and victims to endure renewed scrutiny with no guarantee of justice. Everyone has something at stake. Everyone has something to lose, and everyone is watching everyone else, waiting to see who moves first. In the hours following Leavitt's statement, official responses have been notably cautious. The White House issued a brief clarification that managed to clarify nothing. The press secretary's comments reflected the administration's ongoing commitment to transparency on matters of public interest. We have no further announcements at this time. The Department of Justice declined to comment on any potential release of investigative materials. The FBI issued a standard statement about not discussing ongoing matters. Congressional leaders offered predictable reactions along partisan lines. But what was notable was what wasn't said. No outright denials, no firm commitments, no timeline. Just carefully worded non-statements that kept every option open. This is the language of an institution that doesn't know what's coming next, or is afraid of what might be coming next, and that uncertainty is itself a story. As of tonight, President Trump has not made a formal statement on Leavitt's comments, but his past statements on the Epstein matter provide context for what might come next. During the 2024 campaign, Trump said, "I'm the only one who will release the Epstein files. The Democrats don't want you to see them. The establishment doesn't want you to see them. But I'll show you everything." At a rally last year, he said, "You want to know who's on that list? I'll tell you who's on that list. When I'm back in office, no more secrets." And in a social media post following his return to the presidency, he wrote, "The American people deserve truth about Epstein. The real story, not the fake news version. Coming soon." These statements created expectations that, so far, have not been met. Leavitt's comments today could be the first step toward fulfilling those promises, or they could be another delay tactic dressed up as progress. Until Trump himself speaks, we won't know which. Here's what makes the situation even more consequential. The Epstein files don't exist in isolation.